All right, folks, welcome back to Politically Homeless. I'm Dave. Happy New Year, everyone. And we've got this amazing show again for you today with our favorite guest, James Roguski. James, Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year, Dave. I'm working hard because there's a deadline upon us, and we're going to talk about the same thing we talked about last time. It's kind of like Pinky in the Brain. What are we going to do this time? And we're trying to stop the globalists from taking control of our lives. And so, let me ask you a question that this time I think you should be able to answer. What does January the 27th, 2024 mean to you?
It's 2 days after my wedding anniversary, so I've got to remember.
That is the right answer for you. For everyone else in the world, that is the deadline that the World Health Organization has to present to all of the many members whatever proposed amendments they plan on considering in May. Now, unlike our good friend Nancy Pelosi, who famously said at one point, oh, don't bother reading the bill, just vote for it. You can read it after you vote for it.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly in the World Health Assembly because they have an amendment in the International Health Regulation. I'm sorry, an article in the International Health Regulations. Article 55 says that any nation can propose amendments to the regulations, but they have to let everybody know about it 4 months in advance of the May meeting. Well, it's scheduled to begin on May 27th. Right. So 4 months in advance of that is January 27th. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a little clip that's actually over 3 months old. Back on October 2nd, 2023, the working group who's handling these negotiations, primarily in secret, but they let out a little tiny bit of information every now and then. On October 2nd, I'll set up this clip a little bit so you know who these people are. Dr. Abdullah Asiri, who is from Saudi Arabia, he's one of the co-chairs of this negotiating group. He's the first speaker. And then the second speaker is their legal counsel, Stephen Solomon. Now, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you what you're going to watch, and then you're going to watch it, and then we're going to come back and talk about what you just watched. They basically said that they know that they're going to fail to meet their deadline. And so let me make sure I share the sound and optimize this. Give me one moment.
Yeah, no problem. We will delay, install. Here we go.
Okay, so hopefully you can see that, and I'll put that up full screen. And let me know if you can hear the sound, Dave.
Hello.
Dear colleagues,
yes.
We have been operating with the understanding that the package of the proposed amendments resulting from the work of this group would be finalized by January 2024 to meet the 4-month deadline stated in Article 55. However, we believe that we all share the same sentiment that realistically, the whole package of amendments will probably not be ready by January 2024. We would like to ask the Secretariat whether procedurally we could continue working until the 76th World Health Assembly in May 2024. I'd like to ask the Secretariat to provide some guidance in this matter.
Thank you, Co-Chair. The Health Assembly, in decision W.H.O 75-9, requested the working group, and I quote, to establish a program of work consistent with decision EB 153 and taking into consideration the report of the IHR Review Committee to propose a package of targeted amendments for consideration by the 77th World Health Assembly in accordance with Article 55 of the International Health Regulations, close quote. Article 55 of the IHR, which is referred to in Decision 75-9, sets out 2 procedural requirements relating to proposed amendments. The first one is that, quote, proposals for amendments shall be submitted to the Health Assembly for its consideration, close quote. The second one is that, open quote, the text of any such proposed amendment shall be communicated to all states parties by the Director General at least 4 months before the Health Assembly at which it is proposed for consideration, close quote. Again, that's the text of the relevant article of the IHR, Article 55.
Very clearly, they understand, and they said 3 months ago that they're going to fail to meet their deadline. And other than you, Dave, and maybe a couple of other people that I spoke to this past week, nobody in the alternative media has been spreading that good news.
Yeah.
And so, it's an interesting thing to me how people seem to have been vaccinated against good news, right? I guess gloom and doom and fear and, horrors and Armageddon and, end of times and all that gets clicks and, gets people's attention. But what we are dealing with here is they're arguing over money. They're arguing over intellectual property and investment capital and who's going to spend what to build what to create a new pandemic industry so that they can all profiteer from it. And because there's 196 nations involved, they're having a hard time reaching an agreement. And that's to our benefit. Their greed is causing them to fail. But if you were playing a board game with somebody and they were cheating, and they're always winning, but they're cheating, you got to learn the rules. And so, this is a shout out to everybody that's watching this, and very specifically anybody who is in the legal profession. By all means, call me. 310-619-3055. This is so clear. They have said that they're failing to meet their deadline. They had their lawyer come out and read the relevant article and say, yeah, you got to do it 4 months in advance. Dave, I can't speak for you, but maybe in this case I will. Have you ever missed an airplane flight or a bus ride or train ride or something like that? Sorry, it left the station.
Right.
There's another one coming in a little while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't speak for you, Dave, but I'll be here waiting for him in 2025.
Yeah.
You guys can keep negotiating. You can keep trying. They've already set meetings for February and April. They have every intention of violating that international law. I have an hour-long video of them conspiring to do exactly that and pull a Nancy Pelosi, negotiate right up to the last minute, drop it on the table where nobody's had a chance to see it and go, oh, okay, now you can vote for it, right?
Right.
Article 55 is there so that, all of the delegates, all of the nations, and all of the people get 4 months to review whatever they're proposing. Well, they've kept it. They did, provide us with the original submissions from 94 different nations, but all of the different nations want different things. So when you go and you try to read the originally proposed amendments, well, this country wants that and this country wants something different. So it's a convoluted mess, right? It's not a coherent thought where, oh, here's how we're going to help improve health around the world. There's a whole lot of things that are not in there. Like the WHO, and I really should say the World Health Assembly, has the authority to write regulations on things that are important, but none of that is in there. They have the authority to define terminology, but they haven't defined the term pandemic or vaccine, or for that matter, effective, right? Let alone safe. They have the authority to write regulations on how to determine cause of death.
Mm-hmm.
And, you go back over the past couple of years, that was a big question. Well, they've met 76 times and they've never set standards on how to determine cause of death. There's no legally binding, rules in the international health regulations. They have the authority to set standards for diagnostics. And anybody who knows anything about the PCR knows that it's just a complete and total fraud when it's used, to try to diagnose some ailment. They have the authority to set standards for purity of biological and pharmaceutical products. Nothing. Now, anybody who's paying attention, there's all kinds of garbage in the injectable products that are called vaccines, but where are the standards to determine whether or not you can just, randomly inject something into people? And last but not least, they are supposed to set standards on advertising and labeling. And labeling includes the package insert that is supposed to tell you what the risks are.
Yeah.
And, a lot of those were blank. And so the simple fact that they are failing to even talk about any kind of amendments that would have been good to have some regulations about those things. But for 76 years, they've failed to do that. And so, people need to know the rules, and we need to insist upon the obedience to the rule of law. Law is not just for, me and you, but laws for them that they clearly know. In that little video clip, they know what the rules are.
Yeah.
And we, the people, need to spread this information far and wide as far as possible. Please do share this, the video, and give me a phone call if you have any questions. 310-619-3055. All of this information is on jamesroguski.substack.com. But, this is actually good news.
Yeah.
They're missing their deadline. They'll probably try to cheat. They'll probably try to come back next year. But now is when you pig pile on them. Now is when you push harder, not sit back and go, oh, okay, they're going to miss their deadline. No, now is when I'm not ready to gloat. I'm not ready to claim victory. Sometime in June, after the assembly is over and no amendments were adopted, that'll be the time to, take a break and relax maybe.
Yeah.
Now is the time to push harder and spread the word as far as you can. These guys are having trouble because they're so damn greedy. And they're not able to reach an agreement. And so,
well, we're in the crazy season now, James, in 2024, where the focus is shifted a little bit away from this issue. You should probably be getting a few folks over on the alternative media spectrum, some of the people who are a little bigger than this particular show, but that's disappointing. Is this something we should still talk to our lawmakers about, or is this just we the people?
I suspect that there might be a lawmaker or two, a member of Congress or two, who wants to be reelected. Okay. And so getting anybody on record as to, see, here's the thing. This is not about the details of what might be in the amendments. This is about following the rule of law. Hey, congressperson or senator, what do you think about the WHO's failure to meet the deadline to propose and have considered in the May Assembly? Do you think that they should be allowed to, adopt amendments after having missed their deadline? They're not going to know what the heck you're talking about. So it's going to be an informative conversation. But really what is needed is people around the world waking up to the fact that they're failing.
Yeah.
And I can never pronounce properly. I have to find some German friend to help school me on the pronunciation of Schadenfreude. I'm sure I'm butchering it.
Yes.
It's a concept of when someone else is having trouble, it makes you feel a little bit better, right? Because you're not dealing, they've failed and they're not able yet to face the fact that they failed. They were tasked with presenting a coherent package of amendments in their terminology a final package of targeted amendments in alignment with Article 55. And they've failed. Hey, it's okay. It was a difficult task.
Good news.
Come back next year.
Yeah.
But be honorable enough to admit your failure. And they're not willing to do that yet. They're conspiring to cheat. It's all been documented. They did it in public. I was shocked that they did it in public. I wasn't shocked that they did it.
Yeah.
And so what we need to expose them for what they are and put a stop to the amendments in 2024. There's still that other document, the new agreement, people call it pandemic treaty. That's on a different time scale, different track, different rules. They don't have the 4-month requirement on that. So, now is not the time to sit back and rest. Now is the time to, put the wooden stake through the heart of these amendments. Wake up on January 28th and look around and go, is there a final version for everybody to take a look at? If they somehow manage to present it, well, good on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have something concrete to talk about. But they've been saying this whole time, oh, we're negotiating, we have to keep it secret. That's fine, but you have a deadline. And if you don't have a proposal by your deadline, sorry, you fail.
Yeah.
And, I'm just encouraging everybody to spread the word. It's good news. Everybody should be spreading it like crazy. But we shall see what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like running out the clock. If we can run out the clock, we're going to buy ourselves a lot of time. James, as always, thank you for coming on here. Very informative, very interesting. And we look forward to your next episode with us here.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good one.